Yeah, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Firstly, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
No problem, no problem. Pleasure to be here.
So I thought I've gone through your profile and I thought to tell about the work that you're doing and the work that you already did in in different roles to my audience.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's a absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you for reaching out to me, and thank you for your patience as well in actually getting this set up. I know it's taken a while. I apologize for that. It's been a crazy start to 2022.
So before talking about you, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Mathew batterbee. I'm the global head of business applications at Ingram Micro Cloud, so one of the largest distributors on the planet for technology. And my role is heavily involved around Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, and leading the overall global strategy and the go-to-market strategy, and essentially ensuring that our partners and our teams around the world have everything that they need to enable more partners to go to market with Dynamics and the Power Platform in particular. And I'm currently, so I'm based in the UK, but my role is global. So I get the pleasure of speaking to partners and people all over the world, which basically means I never sleep, but I do enjoy what I do. So that's the main thing.
So tell me more about your job.
Yeah. So in terms of what I do, a lot of it is very sales driven. We really want to, in terms of how we work, we've got, around 40 plus thousand cloud channel reseller partners worldwide. And, Dynamics and the Power Platform are essentially the newer technologies in the Microsoft stack. So there are less partners naturally transacting those solutions. So my role is to enable our teams around the world where we have business applications reps all over the world. So, for example, our team in the UK, we've got around 6 people dedicated to business applications, the US, a similar number, and then we've got people all across EMEA and APAC as well. And it's making sure that we've got the right resources, tools, collateral, and services to enable more partners to go to market with Dynamics because it presents such a huge opportunity to those partners. And also more and more customers. I mean, everything we've been through over the last 2+ years now, more remote workers and those kind of things coming into play, more CRM, ERP solutions are required to be cloud-based and be enable that hybrid working and so on. So there's a huge opportunity for those partners to go to market with Dynamics and the Power Platform. So we're just making sure that we're providing partners with a easy route to market. It's always traditionally been a very hard solution to get into and start selling, whether that's recruiting new developers or new salespeople and so on. And we're trying to fill that gap and really just enable more and more partners to move into those solutions and add more value to their customers.
So, what is the best thing that you did in recent times?
Say that again, sorry.
Uh, what is the best thing or a situation or a problem that you solved recently?
So I think in terms of the problems that we come into contact with frequently is a lot of cloud channel resellers really don't know how to go to market with business applications, or they've looked into it and there's a lot of information out there, but as with a lot of Microsoft information, it's a little bit all over the place, hard to find and hard to follow a dedicated process as to how to go and build a Dynamics practice, using Dynamics as the example. And that's a challenge that we come into contact with, on a daily basis, and that's why we've developed our programs in a certain way. Really taking, not reinventing the wheel. We take what Microsoft have got, the courses, the programs, the certifications, and those kind of things that they're providing partners to build a practice, and really putting them in the right order and really supporting partners through that process. Another big challenge is the licensing. Dynamics licensing is a head scratcher a lot of the time. The licensing guide, I think, updates on a monthly basis. So, it's hard for partners to keep up with that. So that's a challenge that we come into contact with. But again, we're overcoming those challenges with the people that we've onboarded into the team and the programs that we've developed. And the support structure that we've developed as well. So I actually run a partner teams channel, completely outward facing to our partners, dedicated to business applications. So it's a one-stop shop for where partners can access Dynamics and Power Platform content. So those kind of challenges, in terms of going to build a practice and then staying up to date on the solutions, and where Microsoft are providing sales training or challenger training, those kind of things, and we're posting them into that Teams channel. So, there's a lot of challenges, but we're constantly coming up with ways to overcome those.
And your experience with Ingram Micro Cloud?
Yeah, I mean, my experience with Ingram has been phenomenal, really, in terms of how they've really helped me. I've been with Ingram now for going on 2.5 years. I was initially brought on as a UK PDM, or Partner Development Manager, to build out the UK practice. And then I very quickly started to support who was at the time the global lead for business applications at Ingram. Really started to support him and take what we were doing in the UK into that, best practice sharing. So we started a call on a Monday with our reps all around the world in business applications. And, my role very quickly developed into more of a global support role. So really supporting our markets all over the world. And then when our global lead took the decision to move into a different role within Ingram Micro Cloud, I stepped up into that global lead role and have been running the global practice ever since. So I think one thing I'll say about Ingram is, it's one of those places where if you work hard, you get recognized as talent, and they'll support you, they'll help you grow and develop into the roles that you want to go and fulfill. So that's always been a really amazing thing, and the leadership team that we have is incredible. And I think it's the first place that I've worked where everyone that I've seen get promoted into new roles, in senior leadership or in country leadership and so on. I've never questioned a decision. It's always, if someone's been promoted, I've always, even as someone who's maybe just not even worked closely with them, just seen them from afar and what they're doing, you kind of nod and go, well, yeah, obviously they've been promoted, they deserve that. So it's been really good to see that in an organization as big as Ingram, that they really do recognize the talent and promote from within and really support people on their career paths. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal experience, and I look forward to more and more years here.
And you're also EMEA Dynamics 365 lead.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, my role really developed quickly, and it was kind of hard to place me because of the structure within Ingram. So, it was kind of, it was like an EMEA role to begin with, and supporting just the European markets and some of Middle East and Middle East, sorry. And then it just really quickly, I was supporting our US markets, our LATAM markets, Canada and Australia, New Zealand. So you couldn't really put me in an EMEA role. I was proactively supporting all these markets, proactively doing workshops at 2 a.m. for our APAC region, based because of the time zone difference. And so very quickly moved into more of a global support role. And I was able to develop that into the global lead role that I sit in now. So I think the EMEA definition of the role was something that was kind of short-lived, and then it very quickly just turned into a global role.
Awesome. And before this, you worked at UK strategist, strategic alliance lead, and EMEA virtual chapter lead, IAMCP executive board.
Yeah, so the IAMCP is something that I'm heavily involved in now. So this is the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, which is one of the largest organizations for Microsoft Channel Partners, completely non-profit organization, and we're all volunteers that are on the executive board globally and at a country level. And the whole purpose of the IMCP is to support partners with more opportunities, more growth. We get support from Microsoft as well. And it really is a bit of a neutral environment to be involved in. You know, I can get very heavily involved in Ingram and what I do, but it's great to be able to do something where I'm just giving back to the channel and able to train more partners and support more partners. Because at the end of the day, the more partners that are involved in this great ecosystem, the more opportunity there is for a company like Ingram anyway. But that's not really why I do it. It's something that, you know, ever since my role when I was a contractor at Microsoft, I've just kind of fell in love with the cloud ecosystem, the channel, supporting partners. I get a real kick out of getting those partners in their early days of being a business and helping them find their feet and help them grow and build and expand into new markets and new solutions. And with IMCP, I get a lot of opportunity to do that, a lot of networking opportunities, and a lot of opportunity to present in front of people, be that virtual or in person. And the executive board and everyone that's involved in IMCP are such a great bunch of people. It's almost infectious that you want to work with them and want to do something special. So IMCP is still something that I do now. You know, it goes kind of hand in hand with what I do at Ingram, but it's something that I kind of do in my own time, completely voluntary.
Great. Before that, you worked at Microsoft.
That's right, yeah. So my role within Microsoft, I was a contractor, and I was on an 18-month contract. I think I lasted just over a year, and then I was kind of snapped up by Ingram for the role that I took on there, which was amazing and a huge opportunity that's led on to so much more. But my role within Microsoft, again, it developed quite quickly. We were onboarded to help support the non-managed partners within Microsoft, so supporting the indirect channel. So I worked with Ingram Micro before I worked for Ingram Micro. They were one of the indirect providers that I worked with, as well as a few more. And my role was to really drive the Dynamics business forward in the SMB market. And you know, I was one of the only people really doing that. There was one other guy within Microsoft who was full-time Microsoft employee, not a contractor like myself, and then me working very closely with the indirect providers. So yeah, that was kind of my role there, is where I learned so much about Dynamics and kind of fell in love with the technology and the channel. And it was a great experience. It really, you know, working in that kind of environment in such a big organization like Microsoft, you learn a lot very quickly. And you know, I think it was good for me to go in there with fresh eyes to the Microsoft channel. There was a lot of people that I worked with that knew the channel, had been in the channel, had maybe worked for partners and wanted to go on to work for Microsoft. And you know, I didn't really go in there with that kind of attitude of I just want to work for Microsoft. It was just, you know, it was a new challenge. And very quickly you kind of see some of the things that are wrong with the channel, especially, as I say, I almost felt like an outsider looking in because I was so new to everything. So it's really helped me in terms of that kind of just over a year that I was a contractor at Microsoft, in shaping up the way I still do things today, because I still feel like things can improve, things can be done better, communications, there's resources that we're filling gaps on what Microsoft can provide to partners. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I met a lot of great people and got the pleasure of working with many of them as well, and we're still friends today.
And tell me, you as a partner development manager, Dynamics 365.
That's right, yeah. So my role was really to support, like I say, the partner channel in Dynamics. And at the time, you know, the number of Dynamics partners in the UK was extremely low. You're talking, you know, over 3 years ago now, and you know, it was a really low number. and a lot of my role was trying to enable the indirect providers to build out programs to enable that to grow. And this is where I kind of developed that passion for it. So when that role came available within within Ingram Micro, and I was able to take that and really dedicate it to one indirect provider, it was, an amazing opportunity for me to do that, and it's really paid off now in terms of the growth that we've seen in Ingram, and in general my career as well within Ingram Micro and the growth that I've seen. So yeah, it was a good role. There was a lot of hard times in terms of changing the mindsets of a lot of partners. Dynamics, again, it was that kind of new solution that a lot of partners didn't really know how to move into it. So those challenges were still there 3 years ago. We're still kind of facing today at times. But great experience. Great exposure to the whole Microsoft landscape and the channel and what's available to partners. So it's really helped me in how I've developed those programs within Ingram. It was just a really, really good experience.
And partner development manager, Microsoft 365.
Yeah, it was kind of a short time period that I was involved in Microsoft 365. I think it was only a matter of months. And then the work that we'd already done. So when I was first onboarded as a contractor for Microsoft, we had a few of us that were working on Microsoft 365 and I think one person dedicated to Azure. And the work that we were able to do, even in just one quarter, as we came in really aggressive, so to speak. There was a couple of guys that knew the Microsoft channel, knew the ecosystem, and there was a couple of us, including myself, that didn't really know it. And we were looking at it from an external perspective and kind of seeing what we could do and how we could enable the channel to grow quicker. And the work that we managed to do in one quarter and how we enabled partners and how we enabled the indirect providers and the feedback that we were getting in the role that we were doing, Microsoft made the quick decision that they needed someone to be dedicated to Dynamics. And I raised my hand straight away. I was already kind of fielding a few questions in terms of Dynamics. There wasn't really a lot of people in the UK channel within the indirect provider and the SMB ecosystem that knew the answers to those questions. So I was already kind of acting as a bit of a champion of Dynamics and trying to learn it as much as possible. I saw huge potential in the opportunity for partners. So it was great to be able to take that on full time. And I definitely haven't looked back. I've been in the same role in terms of working with Dynamics, and it's kind of, the Power Platform and how that's developed. And I'm still as passionate about it now as I was all those years ago. But yeah, the Microsoft 365, I'd say it was a nice entry point into Microsoft because I was already familiar with the product. We've all used Microsoft Word, Outlook and Excel and those kind of products. So you kind of know it already. There's just a few things to learn. Whereas I think if I went straight into Dynamics, that would have blown my mind a little bit in terms of how big the product is and then learning the channel at the same time. So yeah, that Microsoft 365 role, it was something that was kind of short-lived for me personally. But something that was really useful because it gave me that opportunity to learn more of the solution and then go into Dynamics, and then I could fully understand that better together story with Microsoft 365 and Dynamics. So it's been that was really beneficial, even just those few months that I was in that role.
Yeah, I can see you work here in Microsoft for 1 year, 2 months. So how this short period of time, this valuable time is helping you in the present job that you're doing?
Yeah, I'd say one of the main things that it really helped me with is understanding the Microsoft partner ecosystem and the partnership programs that Microsoft have available to them. And, I still present today. I was over in the US recently and presented at an event, Directions North America. And, I was showing resources that are available to these partners. They are completely free of charge. They're incredibly valuable to the partners. And I always say, raise your hand if you've seen this before. And there's crickets. I don't hear anyone. No one raises their hand. People and partners don't know that these tools and resources exist. So I'd say really understanding what value can be brought in from Microsoft. And I don't feel like, let's say, for example, that I went straight in and worked for Ingram Micro and started to develop my career there instead of that initial year and 2 months at Microsoft. I don't think I would have ever looked into the Microsoft channel as much as I did, because I'd be so focused on Ingram Micro value and what we do, and that'd be it. Whereas because of everything that I learned in that kind of just over a year, and like I say, there's so many free programs like the Cloud Enablement Desk, there's ISV Connect, there's a step-by-step guide in how to build a Power Apps practice. There's all these different things that are completely free of charge to partners. And still today I get a kick out of showing these resources to partners and they've never seen them before. But these are programs, resources, tools that are going to help them save time, effort, and money and go to market faster. And it could even be something as simple as a pitch deck that is already built, completely free of charge. You can customize it with your own logo, all these different things. And partners are spending time and effort building those things from scratch. Whereas actually, they might want to put their own personal touch on these things, but there's already a deck built. You could use that or you can amend it. So it's making partners aware of those resources. But again, if I didn't have that time at Microsoft, maybe I wouldn't know they exist today. There's still people that have only worked for indirect providers, even our competitors, that haven't seen those assets. So I think because I was kind of thrust into the Microsoft, that's what I wanted to learn first. And I really wanted to understand the programs and how Microsoft enable partners to grow. So I'd say that's probably the biggest value that I got out of that role, and something that I still use today and still try and stay up to date on today, and then train our teams around the world to make sure they know these resources exist.
I got you. And before this, you worked as at Vejo Limited for 2 years, 2 months as sales manager, commercial manager.
Yeah, and that was my first kind of exposure, I would say, to sort of the technology market. It was very different. So Wejo is a connected car data company, the world leading connected car data company. And when I joined Wejo, it was a startup business. There was probably around 15, 20 people in the business at the time when I joined. Very different to anything I'd ever done before. Really challenging, as anyone who's worked in a startup will know. You kind of do a little bit of everything. I built desks, I built chairs. I did all the manual stuff, as well as trying to build a call center and manage people and lead a team of business developers. There was a few different roles that I did within that company, but one thing I always thank Wejo for in my time there is really handling change management, I think, is a way of putting it. When you work for a startup, you've got to be agile, and you might spend 2-3 weeks working on something day in, day out. You get to the point of you're going to present that work to someone, and then the company's going in a different direction, and you've got to be able to handle that kind of disappointment, I suppose, is one way of putting it, and move on. And I think that really helped me, even today. As well as just a lot of the leadership things that I experienced when I was there. There was times where I was managing up to anywhere up to around 100 people in a call center, around that kind of number. And then that's a very different environment. And then I was managing kind of 20 to 30 business development managers. So again, a completely different environment, and more of a commercial role, dedicated on sales and new business and so on. So a few different roles, different environment all the time. And like I say, I think there's just anyone who's worked for a startup would probably say they would never do it again. But they might do. They might like the challenge, but there's a lot that you can thank for your time at a startup. And, potentially one day I may do that again with completely different experience. But in terms of the experience that I got there, I probably will never experience anything like that ever again. And I mean that with the greatest respect. I mean, the company is thriving right now with huge investments from even companies like Microsoft investing in them, and everything that they're doing in the connected car data space is phenomenal. I still look in from the outside as to what they're doing, and it's amazing to see how successful they are. I've still got friends that work there as well. So it's always amazing to see what they're doing, the events that they're presenting at, and the work that they're doing, and how they're enabling more and more organizations around the world to harness connected car data. But that was definitely as well my first exposure to, let's call it, geeky technology. You see this stuff. I never thought I could be such a tech geek until I worked there. And then some of the things that were very forward thinking, I think the company at the time was ahead of its time in terms of harnessing connected car data technology, harshness of braking and those kind of data points to actually do things and use that data for the better of travel. Whereas now I think almost time has caught up with where that company was 5-6 years ago, So it was, when I could see what you could do with that, the power of that data and how companies could use that data, I was kind of hooked on, this is cool. Smart technology is cool. The way we're moving forward is really cool. And that was probably my first exposure to being a bit of a data cloud techie geek that I am today.
Awesome. And before this, you worked at Boots Hearing Care for 4 years, 8 months as a contact center team manager and senior contact center consultant.
Yeah, that's right. So this was actually my first office role in any sense of the word. Before that, I'd been a fitness instructor and things like that. So I actually went into, so there's kind of a bit of story to this. I actually decided, and it was something I'd wanted to do since I was really young and wanted to go into the army. And I started the training and then got a bit of an injury on my ankle and started to realize that maybe it wasn't really for me. So took a step back from the army and then ended up just working in a supermarket. That was just kind of, got a job as soon as I could. As soon as I left the army, got a job in a supermarket. And then I was there for 6 months and I was starting to debate whether I was going to go back into the army, but just in a different regiment. I've kind of felt like that regiment wasn't for me. Maybe something else would be, because I enjoyed the army, didn't really want to go where I was heading. So then I ended up, working at Boots Hearing Care. I just started to apply for different jobs just to see what I could get out of the opportunities around North Wales. There's not really a lot. I never thought I'd be a global leader of the largest technology distributor in the world living in North Wales. There's just not that kind of opportunity here, so I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, Boots Hearing Care, my first ever office role, and as I'm sure it's the same for so many people that I speak to, it's a call center role. Boots Hearing Care is a hearing aid organization, private hearing care. So there was a lot of shouting down the phone at people that are very hard of hearing. But it was, a place that I really hold dear to my heart in some ways. I got to work with amazing people that I'm still friends with today. But I learned a lot about business at Boots Hearing Care. I got a lot of exposure to some of the directors in that organization and really, kind of saw where I wanted to end up, but maybe just not at that company. I wanted to kind of expand and go into something else, which is why I went on to Wejo in that startup environment. And, there was the opportunity to build a new business, which was just too good to pass up. But, my time at Boots Hearing Care, I learned a lot there. I learned a lot of leadership skills while I was there. I did a leadership course while I was there. And I was able to lead a team of very successful call center agents as well in my time as a team manager. And it also taught me how to manage upwards as well. I think there was a lot of people there that were potentially not as good at that. But it really helped me in terms of being able to build relationships with more senior leadership, whether that's my direct line of report or the managing director. I didn't have a problem communicating with anyone. And they were skills that I learned while I was there that have probably helped me even today in terms of, again, managing upwards, but also My role now is a lot of building relationships, be that external with Microsoft, be that external with partners, or internal within Ingram. We're such a big organization. I'm constantly building new relationships. So I think there's definitely a lot that I can take from there, in terms of, the man I am today and what I've been able to do, because of working at Boots Hearing Care. But yeah, that was my first ever office role.
So this is good, but before this, you did something completely different. You are a gym instructor at Denbighshire County Council, and you worked there for 6 months. So what is this?
Yeah, so this is where my life is. Like, I did multiple roles at the same time, and I was always wanted to work hard, always wanted to earn money. That was kind of my thing. I just, and so I was doing multiple jobs. I'd be working in a supermarket at the same time I was working as a gym instructor, which is always quite interesting. People who I would say are my clients in the gym would see me in a supermarket stacking shelves and couldn't really put two and two together. But I just wanted to work and earn money. I've always been very hardworking to do that. So yeah, I really enjoyed sport and fitness, as any young guy probably does in school, whether that's playing football or rugby. I did everything. When I was in high school, I was on the track and field team. I was on the cricket team. I was tennis, rugby, football, everything I could do, I was doing. And I also played inline hockey for Great Britain. So I really just loved sport and fitness. And I joined the gym when I was, I think, 12 or 13. I started going to a gym local to me, under 16s gym that had an adults gym attached to it. And that's the gym I actually ended up working at as well. I just fell in love with the idea of improving yourself, and getting fitter, losing weight, those kind of things, just really helping people. And again, I still use that today. You look at what I do at Ingram. I help my team around the world exceed their targets, which helps Ingram exceed their targets. And I'm just the guy in the middle trying to help make it happen as a helper. And as a gym instructor, you're a helper. You are just helping people achieve their goals, and what they want to achieve. So I'm, a lot of being a gym instructor is coaching people and really supporting them. And I did it when I played hockey. I was a coach, and I would help people improve their skills and development. And again, I still use those skills today. It's just different. There's less sweat involved, I suppose. I'm not helping people run a marathon. I'm helping people exceed sales targets. So again, it was what I thought I wanted to do when I was young. And I became a gym instructor when I was 18, and then kind of left, went in the army, came out of the army, got another job as a gym instructor and worked in a supermarket. And, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't fulfilling what I really wanted to do. And I found myself not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. I enjoyed helping people, but I wanted something more. I felt like I could do more with my life. That's where I am today in terms of, completely shifting from gym instructor and fitness to cloud technology global leader. It's a big shift, but there's a lot of skills that I learned in that role that I still use today. And again, communicating with people. I was a young guy when I first became a gym instructor. I'm 18 years old. I've got to show grown men and women, I would say more adults than me at 18 years old, around the gym. I've got to train them, I've got to shout at them and get them motivated and get them wanting to do more. And again, being able to communicate in that environment and really motivate people. Again, I use that today. I motivate people around me. I want to inspire them to do more and achieve more. So again, it's funny how these skills can really cross into different roles.
So I'm a professional cricketer. I played for top level cricket in Hyderabad, in my city, South India. So I understand where you're coming from. Being very fit and maintaining structuring your body. It's a compare. And you came to the cloud, and I am now preparing for solution architect, AWS cloud solution architect, and cloud engineer position. And one more thing you said about communication. You're into communication. You worked as a manager, consultant, so all different roles. So you are into all the sides of the what human can do, the physical thing, and also communicating. You're good with the vocal cord. and making things happen, maintaining relationships, and you're also into management, and now you're a global leader.
Yeah, and I'd say that everything I've learned along the way has really helped me get to where I am. Like I say, you know, when you're young, you think you know what you want to do, or a lot of people do. And I always thought I'd be in the sport and fitness industry, and I was very lucky. I got a job as a fitness instructor when I was 18 years old. In college I did my fitness course that I did, and I got a triple distinction, the highest grade that you can get. So I thought that's exactly what I want to do, and I did it for a couple of years before I left to join the army, and it was good. It just didn't. There was something missing from that, and I feel like for the first time ever, I'm in a role where I love it. I introduce myself on stage when I'm at events as the person with the best job in the world. I get to work with partners all over the world. I get to speak to great people all over the world. I get to help people. I get to coach and motivate people. It's a fantastic role that I get to do, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, having that vast kind of difference in the roles that I've done, and the different kinds of people that I've managed. Even things like, being young in a call center environment, 20, 21 years old, having to manage people twice my age with twice the life experience and those kind of things. That can be intimidating to some people. Like, I got over that very quickly. I was there to do a role, and I was there to help these people succeed more and get more commission and achieve more. And as really being able to communicate that and get that message across really helped me. And the way that I look at being a leader I think has helped me as well, being a younger person and sometimes leading much older people than me with considerably more experience. But because I kind of look at it in this way, and you see those quotes around being a boss or a leader, and that negative side of things, or being really positive. And the way I described it to you is, I always consider myself a helper. I'll just help people exceed their targets, keep them happy, keep them motivated, and that helps the company that I am working for achieve their targets. And that's kind of always the way I've looked at it. So yeah, I think everything that I've learned along the way has really helped me in where I am today, and where I'll be in years to come.
Awesome, and you're being the reason for the wealth creation in the company, or also wealth creation in individuals who are working around you.
Yeah, I get a kick out of helping people around me and keeping them motivated, and really helping people achieve what they want to achieve in their career as well. There's helping people get their next commission, or bonus, and whatever that looks like. But really trying to understand the people around me, where they want to be, where they want to get to, and if there's a way that I can help them with some guidance, that's another way that I want to help people. As you can tell, I enjoy helping people.
Before this, you worked as a stock assistant, Aldi UK, for 8 months in 2011.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was, at the same time as being a gym instructor. Like I say, I was working in a supermarket as well. And again, there's things you can take from that. And I think if any young people listening to this that are probably in that role of in a supermarket, in a shop, anything like that, what I learned while I was there was taking pride in my work. At the end of the day, I wanted my aisle on that supermarket to be the best aisle. I wanted it to look good, clean floor. It sounds, it's funny looking back, but I'd look back at my aisle at the end of my shift and be like, yeah, that looks good. I can go home. And I was probably the only one that cared as much as I did. But I just always wanted to put my all into everything that I did. And, I've just always been like that. So I think there's even things that you can take from, those early on jobs that you do. And also when you're young and, you're 16 in the UK, you're kind of 15, 16 when you leave school and you can get a job in a shop like a supermarket or something. When you go into those roles, leading up to that, the only adults in your life have pretty much been in authority figures, teachers, parents, or your friends' parents. And all of a sudden you go into this environment where people at that age could be your colleagues, and that changes your perspective on adults in a way. And really, your communication, the way you speak to them will be different to the way you speak to your mum and dad and things. So, I think I take a lot even from those early days working in the supermarket. I worked in Aldi. I also worked in Morrison's, two big supermarket brands in the UK. And, I take a lot from them. But, definitely the taking pride in my work is something that I learned while I was there, that I just have to be the best at what I'm doing.
Wonderful, man. And before this, you worked as a infantry soldier in training, British Army. You worked.
That's it, yeah. So, and again, I did the British Army training for. I'm trying to think now. It was a few months that I was in training for, and then injured my ankle and kind of made the decision to leave on that. And again, things that you learn while you're there, learn what you can put your body through and your mind through as well. Whether that's, and I know this isn't really stuff that comes into play today, like sleep deprivation and things like that, but knowing that what you can push your body to achieve, and the way that your mind is, and really combating the kind of negative thoughts in your mind of I can't do this, and then you go and do it, because 9 times out of 10 in army training, you've got a sergeant behind you that's screaming at you to do it, so you do it. But the fact that you might have in your mind that you can't, and then you do it, and I think that's helped me even now, with that kind of positive attitude of I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve this, and being hardworking as well. I was really hardworking when I was in army training, and I kind of took that into what I do now, where everything I do, I want it to be the best. I want it to look the best. I always want to put my best work into absolutely everything, and again, achieve and exceed what's needed. It's the same. In army training, you could say, I think the time that you had to do a 1.5 mile running for the fitness test was 10 minutes, 10.5 minutes, something like that. I wanted to do it in 8. I wanted to do it in, I wanted to do it a lot quicker than I had to do it. And that's the same where I am now in work. It's, if I've got a task that I need to do, I want to get it done quickly, but right. I want it to be the best piece of work that I've put together every time I do something. I want it to be, sorry, yeah, and that's something I could probably take back from those days in the army.
Awesome. And before that, you worked as gym instructor again for 1 year, 10 months.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that was like I say, when I was 18 and became a gym instructor, that was at that role at that company. And again, really great experience. Everything I've talked about already, the kind of things that I learned there was great. And again, that was probably my first role that really required me to be a better communicator and those kind of things. And there's a lot that I take from those roles as a gym instructor, definitely. Sales assistant at WM Morrison Supermarket. You said this already. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's a very similar role to what I did at Aldi. Again, always wanting my aisle to look the best. But again, this was the first time as well. I was 16 and kind of got basically promoted into like a supervisory type role for the department, and sometimes would be put in charge of shifts, even for just a few hours. But again, being 16 and working with people that are so much older than I am, and having to kind of give them tasks and tell them what to do, even for that short space of time, it early on, it helped me in terms of I enjoyed being a leader, but not being a boss, and really getting people to want to do things that I asked them to do. And, that was great. But also, it showed me early on that if I work hard, I'm going to receive rewards for that. And this was, I worked really hard in that role, and they kind of gave me this little bit of responsibility on my department, which was quite small, to lead that if the manager wasn't there or something like that, and it made me realize that actually if I work hard in life, I'm going to get something for it. And I still take that today. I'm not satisfied with where I am today. I want to get promoted. I want to get a bigger role within Ingram, and grow my career. And I work hard every day to make sure that I can do that.
So, what do you think that worked for you? That positive qualities or the constructive thoughts of yours made you to be whatever you are today, global cloud technology leader.
Yeah, I think, there's, like I say, I think everything that I've kind of learned along the way in different roles, be that just taking pride in work, being a good communicator. And I think the way that I take on tasks, and again, I can take this back to the startup company I worked for. There was a lot of periods there where it could be seen as negative. You spend time building something, the company's going in a different direction. So all that work in the bin, and you start on something new, you could look at that as extremely negative, or you can take a positive from that and look at it in terms of, I learned something from that 3 weeks work. Let's move on to the next bit of work. And I think, having that kind of positive outlook on things has really helped me in my career, taking on new tasks, taking on new responsibility, having that positive approach to things. But also just being a highly motivated person. I think I always have been. Right now, I would say my motivation is, providing for my wife. I'm a daddy now of a little 16-month-old little baby girl, and I want to make sure that I'm providing a good life for them. But I've always been a highly motivated person, and I think it's just the way I am. Like I say, always wanting to be the best at what I do, work harder than everyone else. And achieve more. And I think that's really helped me, regardless of what role I'm doing. If I'm given a role, I think, yeah, I can do it, and I will be the best at it. It's just my mentality. It's just the way I have to be, and it's really worked for me.
And you also executive board member for IAP of UK.
That's right, yeah, and that's something that I've really enjoyed. I think it helps me. I learn a lot from it, in terms of learning from people that are, in the channel. They're volunteers as well, and they're at a certain level that they really add a lot of value into that organization of IAMCP. So we all learn from one another, but it's also really great for me to be able to give back more to the Microsoft channel outside of Ingram, and kind of play it at a bit of a neutral playing field, and kind of almost forget the Ingram badge for a little bit and just be Mathew Batterbee as a person that wants to give back to the channel rather than an Ingram employee. That for me is just something that I enjoy doing and really like giving back to.
So how you're understanding your gym? You worked in a gym as an instructor, and you understand how to build body, and you train people how things work. What are the food that they need to take, and what is the diet, and understanding their physical activity. That is completely a uh, different position where you are doing something that is completely natural thing, and now the present job you are doing something that is created by human being, cloud services. So natural versus technology, human created thing, cloud services. Like you are you are into globe, so you are connecting, and you're talking with different country people, and you also understanding their requirements, and giving what they want. So how is this experience if you mix, because there are two people in you, because who worked in two different roles. So how do you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think, being able to understand people, you can take both of these jobs, gym instructor, cloud technology leader, and in particular, more of a sales leader type role. You take those two jobs and you kind of, I need to understand my team. Like now, I need to understand them, what motivates them, how to get them motivated, how to provide them with the tools that they need to be successful to exceed their targets. You take that back to being a gym instructor. I need to understand those people that I'm going to be an instructor for. I need to understand what's going to motivate them, be it the scales or it's the way they look or feel. I need to understand how to best get them to work, i.e., I was never really a runner. Like I hated just getting on a treadmill and jogging. I like doing sprints. I like doing that kind of exercise, like really high intensity training. So really understanding those people, what's going to get the best out of their training session. If they hate the treadmill, they're not going to do it to the fullest of their ability. So let's do something different. Let's do the cross training. Let's do the bike. Let's do something that motivates them. It could be that actually let's go running outside and then come into the gym to do the workout, because they'll do a better run if I send them a mile down the road and back. They will do that quicker than they will do 2 miles on a treadmill. So really understanding those people, how I can get the best out of them to receive the best results that they want to receive. And that's what I do today. I understand my team. I understand how I can get them motivated, how I can provide them with the tools to be the most success that they can be. Ask them what they need from me, what sales data do they need from me that's going to help them be proactive in helping partners. And they can go and do that, and they can go and exceed their targets, which means I exceed my targets and Ingram exceeds its targets. So we're all winning. So it's interesting how you can do two completely different roles, but like I say, you take those kind of learnings and communication and understanding and how to motivate people from one role, and you can adapt it into another role. So I kind of look at the roles very similar, although very different. I'm not sending any of my team out for a run anytime soon.
So one question that I want to ask, I'm sure that will inspire and motivate a lot of people who listens to you, because the question is, you worked in completely different roles. You worked in a leading position. You are a manager. You worked in sales, and one is like you said, instructor, and now you're doing you're into technology. So one is not matching with other, and how you are able to adopt yourself, how you are able to put yourself in that particular job, because completely new, you're stepping into completely a new place. So how you are able to get adopted and be get positive and productive results from it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's that willingness to learn is the first thing. So when I first moved into the Microsoft role, I had to learn everything. Licensing, the products to some extent, the channel, and then moving into the Dynamics role, I had to learn Dynamics, which was a completely new thing for me. I'd worked with CRM systems in the past in other roles. And kept thinking, as I was learning about Dynamics, I wish I'd have had Dynamics in those other roles. But being able to go in with that willingness to learn, openness to learn from other people, communicate with other people, but then also for me, having that mentality of I can do this, and I can do anything. If I put my mind to it, I can do anything. I can do any role that is thrown at me. And I'll achieve, and I'll work hard to do that. So I think just having that mentality in my own head of I can do anything, and I will work hard to do anything. And I always I love listening to like motivational things, and I've always listened to ones with The Rock, when he always says about being the hardest worker in the room, and that is exactly what I want to be in what I do. The hardest worker in the room and the one who's going to get the most success out of people around me as well. So it's not just about me, it's about people around me and helping them exceed also. But yeah, I think that mentality has really helped me take on new roles, new responsibilities, be it moving from one role to another in an organization, or moving to a completely different company, channel, cloud, everything. I went into that with the mentality of I can do this, and I will work hard to exceed in whatever people think I will do better. And that probably stems from being in school. I had teachers, and I'm not selling the high school that I went to for anyone here, but I had teachers that told me I wouldn't achieve anything, and for a while it was I want to prove them wrong, and now I don't care. I want to prove myself right. So all them thoughts of wanting to prove people wrong, they don't even come into my mind anymore. I just want to prove myself right, and that's really helped also. So you're actually telling a lot of people to do different things in their life, so that they will become they'll understand different perspectives and different ways of looking at things. Yeah, definitely. It's something that's really helped me doing different roles. and seeing different businesses from different aspects, working with different technologies, working with different types of people, being a leader, being led, managing up, managing down, all these different things have really helped me. But in every single role that I've done, I've just had that mentality of I'm going to be the best at it. I'm going to work my hardest at it. And I'm going to learn as much as possible whilst I'm in that role, be it about the wider business, how my leaders lead, maybe how I would lead better than them. Not do their job better than them, but just the way they're a leader, maybe. So I can try and perfect myself, which I'm still doing. Nobody's perfect. There's always learning opportunities, and that's constantly what I'm trying to do.
So at last, what do you say to the world who is watching and listening to you?
I thank you for watching, definitely, and a huge thank you to you for putting these podcasts together. I think it's amazing. A huge thank you for reaching out to me. That tells me I'm doing something right if you've reached out to me. So thank you for that. Thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully you've got something from this. And if you want to speak to me or anything, feel free to reach out to me anytime. More than happy to. I'm actually doing a lot at the moment, going into high schools and colleges and doing a lot of talks around cloud technology as an industry, as a career path for young people. So any educators that might be watching this, if you want me to work with you in your school, I'm more than happy to. I've got a lot going on there as well. Always busy. But yeah, just huge thank you for listening and taking the time. And thank you for all the great questions and the great conversation.
I'll put your web links in the description of this video. People who finds our video on YouTube can see and can follow you and can learn. Like you're saying, you're giving knowledge through different sources on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. So I'll put they can connect with you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time as well.
What is your observation at last? What is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine?
Yeah, I think it's amazing and what you're doing. And I think asking those questions around where people came from. I was at an event recently and we're sat around this table in a very fancy hotel in California, and we all kind of sat there and with business owners and things, and we're all sat there saying we never thought we would be in that position, like leading global businesses or leading our own business, as a lot of those people were sat in this amazing hotel in California, and especially us in the UK, like a lot of us grew up in not the best areas and stuff. And so I think being able to interview more people in this sector and interview people and go right back to their early days, their beginnings, and learn what have they learned along the way, what's helped them, what's maybe not helped them, what's helped them, progress in their career. If it's an owner of a business, what was their decision making process in wanting to start their own business, what made them make that decision, what steps did they take, those kind of things. So I think the work that you do and asking these kind of questions is really valuable to a lot of people, and especially a lot of young people, I think, that are maybe just starting out in their career, or maybe in a bit of a rut, as we call it in the UK, in terms of they're in a job that they're not very happy with, but maybe they've been there for 5 years and they don't really know if they could completely shift gears into a new sector. And the answer is you can. And I think watching podcasts like yours can really help them.
So I did masters in software engineering and a bachelor's in computer science and engineering. And how this communicating with different country people who are experts or who are already in the industry and who are making things happen, talking people like experts like you, getting this information and absorbing this information, understanding how things works from lot of experiences of yours and a lot of people, how this energy and this information is going to helpful for me if I work in cloud or technology in coming days.
Brilliant. No, I'm glad that this is helpful to you. I can only imagine that you get a lot out of this, and I don't mean that in terms of my interview. I mean in general, speaking to so many people in this industry, different walks of life, different backgrounds, different countries. I work with people all over the world, and when I speak to different people in different cultures and countries and different backgrounds, I learn so much from that, and it's phenomenal. So I think this is great. Can
I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah, of course.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yeah, of course you can.
So thank you, Matt. Keep going, keep inspiring, and make things happen.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, sir.
Bye.